Good morning, Liverpool supporters. I am Neil Atkinson, and with me, I've got Chloe Bloxam to talk about lots of matters pertaining to the Reds. We're going to focus in more on transfers to start with, and then move from there. I'll make that shut up. That'll help matters, won't it? That's the issue with live broadcasting for you, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't done this for a while. It's a pleasure to be with Chloe on this morning. Ultimately, there's been a few interesting links around forwards. There's a Neil Jones piece yesterday for Goal that comes through where he's got a few players that he's sort of referencing for Liverpool. He mentions midfielders looked at Neuhaus, Basuma, McGinn, Renato Sanchez and Gravenberch. Now we know Neil wouldn't do that. What I'm really interested in is forward-wise, Liverpool like Ollie Watkins of Aston Villa and Pedro Neto of Wolves. Watkins is really interesting for me in that he does lots of things that I think Liverpool would like. He just doesn't score as many goals as you might want.
Yeah, but then again, I think Firmino doesn't score as many goals as you'd want your natural striker to do. But the link-up play that he does, the hold-up play that he does, he entails himself in this Liverpool squad. And I think Ollie Watkins can do that. You've seen him be very good this season. He scored a hat-trick against us as well, which, you know, doesn't hurt. It hurts Liverpool, but doesn't hurt for onlookers to see him. And I think Ollie Watkins is a very good player. He's very pacey, he can get in behind, he can hold up play for you. And he gets into the box, he gets in those positions that you want your striker to be in. And he'd be a really good backup to Roberto Firmino. My only worry is, with Firmino as the type of player who sacrifices himself for the team, I want an out-and-out striker, someone who will get you those goals every single game. And I think Ollie Watkins can be that player, and he can develop into being that player. He is young, obviously, so he can go further and he can develop. So it's a good link. Whether I'd want him at Liverpool at this moment, I don't want to say yes, but it's a good option.
It's the other link that's really interesting for me is Berardi, Sassuolo, I think it's how it's pronounced. He's there at the moment. He's linked strongly with Leicester, also linked with Liverpool around £34 million, 40 million euros. He's at the Euros at the minute with Italy. What intrigues me about him, and we've just done a gutter show there for subscribers on audio, and one of the things that sort of hit me whilst we were having the general conversation, he's 26 going on 27, and everyone sees him as a player who plays off the right and cuts in on his left foot. I wonder whether or not he's 6 foot tall, and if we are trying to think about alternatives to Firmino, we might want someone who's a bit more polished, a bit more the finished article, because it hasn't worked with Solanke, it hasn't worked with Brewster, it hasn't worked with Minamino. With Jota, I'd even say there it's worked a bit on and off. Yeah. I wondered if Liverpool might actually want someone who's a bit more mature to be the player who follows in Firmino's footsteps.
Yeah, I think that could be the case, and you know, Berardi at the Euros, he's played very well, to be fair to him. I've seen him a couple of times off the bench. He's actually influenced the game, and you know, starting, he's done well for his team. And the thing that you probably don't realise is that you've just said 6 foot. I've been really took back by that. I thought he was a little lad, and whether that's just because it's on TV or whether...
It's because you sort of replace him with Insigne and the other lads I've forgotten who plays for Juventus, Chiesa, in your mind as well. You replaced him with all these other footballers, whereas really he's a bit of a unit.
Yeah, but you see, from watching it, you don't realise until the stats are read out to you. But yeah, he's got a wonder of a left foot, and he's able to cut inside, but he also has that height, he has the agility.
And he has the work rate.
Yeah. He does, and that's the first thing that Jurgen Klopp looks for in a player: work rate, work ethic. You know, will they do enough for the team? And he's a good link. He's the type of player that Jurgen Klopp would want, and he is a good player. It's just obviously whether you think he's a good enough backup to the three that we have. And also, you know, you've mentioned him there, maybe taking over Firmino's kind of role. He seems very versatile in what he can do, and also being a left footer, he could even go on the left side where Mane is, and he could cross the ball in with his left.
What Leicester being interested in him sort of grabs my attention. They went with Under last year on loan, and it doesn't really come off for them. But another player that Neil Jones mentions in his piece, injury hit at the end of the season, is Harvey Barnes. He's a footballer who I absolutely adore, Harvey Barnes, and you can end up doing in your own mind like the transfer like knock-on effect all over the place. But I would love it. You know, it's interesting that Neil goes out of his way to say Liverpool are an admirer of Barnes's, because I think he's almost quintessentially Jurgen Klopp. I feel like Jurgen Klopp built him in a factory, up to and including his big face. To be honest with you, I'm like, wow. I would love to see Liverpool go for Barnes this summer, despite the mild risk around the injury.
Yeah, I think he's a wonderful player. Energetic, always hard work, and he's up and down that wing like mad. You know, you talk about full-backs for Liverpool in this case. He's up and down like Andy Robbo and Trent. He's a very, very good player. His agility is unreal. I love how he always cuts in inside. Got a lot of pace as well, which really fits our system. Brilliant player, young as well, can grow into the team. And also it's just a great option, because we've seen, you know, last season Mane maybe not be up to his full strength, and sometimes these players need a rest. We've got to think about the fact that these players have been going for 3 seasons pretty much non-stop. You need someone at the high quality to come and replace them, and that's what City have that Liverpool probably don't have, is the squad depth, and the fact that, you know, when they take off Sterling, they've got Jesus, or they've got Mahrez to come on the pitch, and when it's with us, we've got Shaqiri, who's very good technically, but when you look at a Jurgen Klopp player, he's probably not your everywhere on the pitch player. He's just a very technically brilliant player.
He's still in the Euros, Shaqiri, and I think that'd be good from Liverpool's point of view of possibly trying to find him his next home, if there's ever a shop window sort of situation, because he doesn't get enough time on the pitch at Anfield, and there's lots of reasons for that, his own fitness at times, but also literally where he fits. The strangest thing for me for Shaqiri all the way through, you know, at times last season Klopp uses him in the heart of the midfield, and I understand why, because he doesn't make any sense up front in Liverpool's 4-3-3. So if he wants to get him on the pitch, if it's 4-3-3, he's opted for midfield. I think this Euro's shown what he is as a footballer is good news for Liverpool, and it's obviously good news for a player who's done well for the club. Yeah,
it is, and you know, Shaqiri, I adore him. I'd keep him at Liverpool just because I absolutely adore him as a player, and I know he's technically brilliant. But when you weigh up the pros and cons of it, he's probably played less games than he has actually missed through injury. And you know, you really hope when there's some players that come to your team that you just absolutely hope do brilliantly, not because, also for you and your team, but just because of them. And Shaqiri's the type of player with me that I just want him to do boss wherever he goes, and it's kind of sad that if he does go, you know, he's a Liverpool legend. He'll be remembered for Barca, the fact that he whips that ball in for Wijnaldum, he plays unreal.
2 goals against Man United, 18-19, big goals.
That's massive. And you know, I think Shaqiri, he's been brilliant for Liverpool. I hope he stays, but it is one of those that you can get some money for, especially with the Euros. I mean, I watched the Euros the other day, and on my Twitter was just him from 2016, I think it was, doing the overhead kick, and I was like, yeah, post that more, keep that going, get more money.
Does that every week?
Yeah, he does that. He did it in pre-season, didn't he? One of his first games for us, and it was an unreal free kick. Yeah, so it's very good for him, and he obviously matches up against Thiago when they face Spain. So it'll be, I mean, it's absolutely crazy that Thiago, with the level he is, probably won't get on the pitch. Shaqiri, who is very good technically, will get on the pitch. But yeah, you know, he's doing good for Switzerland, and hopefully he can either come back and do good for Liverpool, or he can succeed somewhere else.
Just quickly do a couple of your comments as they've come in on YouTube. That's where I am right now, as you will have heard earlier on. Just to be really quick on it, Trevor McIntosh feels sorry for good English lads, as clubs will put huge fees on their heads, and that'll prevent them getting a dream move. I think that's really fair. Limp and Monkey says he wouldn't go near any Italian striker, especially for good money when there's cheaper options out there. It is fair to say, Chloe, there isn't a strong history of Italian forwards coming over and succeed. There's one or two, but there isn't a strong history of Italian forwards coming through and succeeding massively in English football.
It's just gave me a flashback of Mario Balotelli, and please don't, that was a harsh time. Yeah, no, and I also look at these players. You've got Immobile and Belotti, that type of player up front, and in a way I don't want to compare them to Kane, because I think Kane's on a totally different level, but in a way it reminds me of Kane in the fact that, you know, they're very much talisman forwards. They can hold the ball
for club
up.
And country,
yeah, exactly. I'm not too sure that's what Liverpool kind of look for in a striker right now, and with the system that they're going for. Individually, they're very good players, but having said that, if you offered me Harry Kane, I'd take him, just because I know he's a very good finisher, and Italian players, the Italian forwards in the Euros right now are very good finishers, so maybe maybe even if it's just a finishing type of product that you need.
Captain Johannes Kili-Loris, which I refuse to believe is what he was christened, says AFCON this season, isn't it? We need a backup if we're going to put in a title run at all. I think we do need a backup, but what I would say is AFCON actually only covers 2 league games, and that's Brentford at home and Crystal Palace away. The fixture list genuinely could not have gone better for Liverpool Football Club. So there's only those 2 league games in there for that. In there as well, Limpin Money says, why do we hope fringe players stay and sit on the bench for good money? I will move Shaqiri on, to be honest with you. I'd do Origi as well. I'd probably be doing Minamino. I'm fine with the offers that have been mooted around Phillips and Williams. I'd be accepting both of them. I think Liverpool do need to do a bit of a clear house this summer. Chloe, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I feel the same, and I think also, you know, the philosophy of FSG, you know, the philosophy of Liverpool, and I think that's why it means more when you win something with Liverpool, is because we don't go out and spend millions and spend all the money. We have to financially make that money to then go and spend it, and I think this is kind of the season that you do that. You've seen players, I even think Naby Keita, and a lot of people may think differently, but I think now's the time to, it's even if people buy him now and give you the money that you want for Naby Keita, but I think it's been too many seasons of people not being available, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Adam Duggan can't get his head around our lack of interest in Sancho at the discussed price. Adam, the issue is not the transfer fee, I think, from a Liverpool point of view. It's that he's going in and he's coming in at about 350 grand a week. That's 150 grand a week more than Salah currently earns. If you go through the wages, and it's really interesting, Liverpool's 10th, 11th, 12th highest paid players all correspond with Manchester City and Manchester United. Liverpool's wage bill corresponds with Manchester City and Manchester United. It's just that Liverpool have a really compressed top, where Salah's currently the joint highest earner with Thiago on 200 grand a week, and it goes from there. All those contracts need to get sorted out. So if Liverpool brings someone in on 350 grand a week, it ruins the whole structure. So all of Liverpool's highest paid players get approximately, within, sort of throw a blanket over them, similar amounts of money, whereas there's greater disparity at the top of the wage bill for Manchester United and Manchester City to midway down the wage bill, and Liverpool have got to raise everyone at the same time this summer. Contracts for Fabinho, Alisson, Virgil van Dijk, a couple of others, and then lastly I think they'll do Mo Salah, and Salah will end up, I think, at about 300 grand a week, and then go from there. That's the way in which it will go, and that's how it'll work. And I think that people miss that, don't they, Chloe, with the wages from a Liverpool point of view, is that Liverpool, they don't pay massive fees a lot of the time, although we did break a world record fee for a goalkeeper and a world record fee for a defender, but Liverpool reward the players when they've done the business on the pitch. The idea of bringing someone in and they're becoming top earner, I just don't see Liverpool doing that.
No, and I think that's why with Mbappe, you know, we've kind of been linked with Mbappe, and it's being said that it's false, and although my heart absolutely would want Mbappe there, it's also the kind of players where Sancho and Mbappe, the superstars where they are at the moment. So, you know, you've got Erling Haaland and Sancho as the two main at Dortmund, and then, you know, they know their worth. They will be arrogant with it. They will know how much they want to spend. They want to be paid because they know other clubs want them. And I think that's your other problem. If someone else is offering them something, they're going to ask for it. So, yeah, and it messes the whole system up. I mean, imagine saying, yeah, Sancho, you can be on 350, but Virgil van Dijk, who's been absolutely unreal since he came at Liverpool, still below him and has been here for quite a couple of years now, won the Premier League, won the Champions League. It causes a bit of...
It makes Liverpool's contract negotiations difficult. Akash Takawali says, thoughts on Sancho to Man United? I'm sort of absolutely all right with it, in that they've still got a lot to do United, and I don't think they can do what City and Liverpool have done across the last 3 or 4 seasons, which is win 20 games on the bounce or 19 in any given 20 games and go from there. I still think that's the case. I think maybe the next Manchester United manager might help that. He says it's going to be so tough from next season. I mean, what I would say there, Aquash, is that it's tough every season. Liverpool came second with 97 points. And won the European Cup that year. That is the very definition of tough. The following season, they won 26 out of 27 games, showing how tough they are and how tough they can make it for people. I feel in general as though if we're not into tough, we're in the wrong business. But we're also backing a team that did win 26 out of 27, a side that will have its defence back, a side that won 8 out of the last 10 at the end of last season. We're backing the mighty boys in red, and if we're not in this journey for it to be difficult, then we shouldn't be in this journey at all, and we will get stuck into these next season big time. Thanks to Chloe. See you later.